The next step after that is then I upload it to my estimating software. And what we use here is Procure. We use this to mark up all of our drawings. This is good for the low voltage community, electricians, plumbers, painters, and especially fire alarm contractors. Very easy tool to use. So I'm going to go through the first page and show you how I would mark up the drawings. And then we're going to download the proposal and I'm going to build it out for you so you can see how I actually price out these jobs step by step. After I upload it, I always like to just read it, because even after I upload it, I always come back to the cover page to read it, just to look at the notes, because I want to understand exactly what they want us to do with this fire alarm system. Because a lot of times they'll ask you additional things inside of the notes, and if you're not paying attention, you just lost yourself some money, because you're going to still have to pay for it because it's inside of the contract drawings. You want to make sure you read the codes, the scope of work. If you don't understand what any of the abbreviations are, they have a legend here as well. Here is for the fire alarm programmer. This is how you're going to actually program the system. Generally, if you're already doing this, you pretty much have an idea of how the system is supposed to operate. But here, if you don't, this will give you a quick indication. The smoke detector should be enunciating at the fire alarm control panel. It should also be activating the alarm to central station, turn on the horns and strobes, display text if you have a remote enunciator, shut the fans down, sound the temporal 3 alarm. Also, you want to turn off the gas, and they have some special programming because they have a gas detector, then they have a PA system that we have to shut down. And there's also a device tag legend, because this is going to give you, especially if you're giving this over to an installer, each device needs an address. Rather, if you're using a Firelight or an Edwards system, some type of system, either is going to be binary, is going to be a dialer meter, or you're going to have some type of serial number. You will have to identify what these addresses are on top of the drawings, and you have to know what they are. So when you're doing the programming, you could actually label the smoke detector that's on the first floor in front of the elevator exactly that. And the electrician can also install it in that exact location and put the address you labeled on that particular device, so everything runs concurrently. Here would be a fire alarm wireless. You're pretty much telling the electrician the size wire, type of wire, for what circuit they need to run it for. So these drawings here have approximately 10 pages, right? And I'm going to show you what the last few pages look like, and then when we actually build this system, I'm going to show you how we get that information. So the first thing we want to do is we want to blow it up as big as we can to make sure we see all of the fire alarm devices. And on the left side, we have our fire alarm devices that we can select, so that way we can select them on the actual floor plans. So this can actually tally up all of the devices we have to actually purchase from the manufacturer, so we can send them off for the electrician to install. So if you don't understand what these symbols are, then you would have to go back to the legend page back and forth, or just print this page out, so that way you can have this legend page. This is the fire alarm symbol legend, so that way you can have this page right handy to you, so you don't have to keep going back and forth. But if you know what the devices are and you have them here on the left side, you could just select them. If you don't have it there, all you have to do is just add them, type it in, heat detector, and then hit create. Or you could just add a new symbol. You could change the size of the symbol. You could also change the color of the symbol if you want. If you want counts in order, the counter just individually, that's what that's for. Linear and linear drop is if you're running wires and things like that. So they give you the distance from one point to the next. But in order for you to get the distance from one point to the next, you got to make sure you define your drawing scale in order for you to have the exact measurement. All right, so let's figure out how many devices we have on this page. We know we have some relays, some smoke, some heat, some COs, and things like that. So the first thing we want to do is, since my eye caught the control relay, I'm going to look for relay, control relay, and then I'm going to just check all the CRs. We're going to do this live too. Then we uncheck it, so that way we can select the next device, and that'll be a heat detector. So we're going to hit that. Then the next one will be a CO. Then we got a pull station over here. Then we got a pull station here, pull station here, pull station here, pull station here. And you could blow it up. You could explode it just in case if it's too small, you can't see it. We have a horn strobe, another heat. Now, if you're wondering what these cloud bubbles are, this is like a question mark. Should we put this here? Do you want this here? We're designing this system and we're handing it off to the MTA for them to approve our design. So either we're going to install it or we're not going to install it. But pretty much we're making a suggestion like, hey, you need a pull station there. So once you get everything, you unselect, you click on, and then just drag the page over. We have some single input modules for some Tampa switches. And you can name these whatever you want. So if this is, you want to change the name to monitor module, you could change it to monitor module. You could change the size, and you could also change the symbol. And then we could also give it a new color. And then we could just click close. When we select all of our single input modules, it'll be that color, that size, and that shape. So we select the rest of our strobes. And I'm going to speed this up so I can go through this whole thing, so that way you don't have to sit here and watch me click all of this up. Now, so once we have all of our devices marked up, we just want to double check and make sure that we have everything selected. And if you see here, I only put one on a Tampa switches because it's telling me a monitor module for the Tampa switch. So I wouldn't select it 2 times because all I need is one module, one single input for this one Tampa switch. So once we verify everything is correct and we marked up our entire drawings, the next thing we want to do is go over to proposal so we can create our proposal. But before I do that, let me just explain something. If you have your information in here, like all of your devices, your fire alarm control panels, your smoke detectors, and you have your pricing next to it, like how much each device costs, and you have your labor next to it, you have your waste percentage, your markup, your total cost, you could actually do your entire proposal from this entire system. However, we don't use it that way. I actually just use it to give me the quantity of the fire alarm system. So essentially, I'm pretty much showing you how to run an entire business as a solopreneur. If you have a team, you will be delegating these tasks and options, and they will be using the system in the way the system is needed to be used. You wouldn't be going through all these different types of steps to make one thing happen. So as a solopreneur, you have to find ways, creative ways to make things happen as efficient as you can make it. So you can actually just do the whole entire thing from here. But let's go over to proposal, and it's going to give us the quantity counts of all of this information. So we show proposal, and here we go. So now you can preload all of this information inside of your quote, give it all of this level of detail. It'll actually have your total price of what it actually will cost. So from there, you can just send that to your client. But what we need to do here is we're going to just export this and save it as a PDF. And what I like to do is print this out so I can have it next to me